I'm very excited now. We've got a special guest. It's Alex, our CEO, and Alex is joining us today. Alex, how are you?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks, Rich. What about you? I see, but almost 400 people.
Yes, we've had all sorts of people this morning. It's been a very lively day with lots of great questions, lots of great ideas. So we'll have a great list of suggestions from people for the team. So we appreciate those guys. But we wanted to give you a chance to meet the CEO of our company, Alex, and he's going to share a little bit of information with you today about sort of where we're going and the vision of Luminar. So we're very glad to have him here. Alex, Skylum as a company has grown a lot. We originally started making mobile apps, and we've now grown into a company working with AI. Could you give us a little background about, sort of where we've come and where we are now as a company, what we're doing?
Sure. I'm actually a little bit afraid that my presentation or my 20 minutes during the day will be the most boring ones.
Well, I guarantee that people are going to look forward to asking you questions. So if you guys have questions, put them in the Q&A. But, Alex, I think it's good for people to take a moment and just kind of understand. We've had a lot of questions about, people being able to use Luminar in different ways. So what are some of the things on your mind as we're getting the company ready and moving Luminar forward?
Sure. You're absolutely right. We started as a company focusing on mobile apps, and then we switched to Mac, and then we expanded to Windows, and now we're expanding to many other different platforms. And I looked at our HR chart yesterday, and we have almost 150 people right now working remotely from Ukraine and US and Japan and France and Germany and South Korea and United Kingdom. It's unbelievable.
It's a big growth. A lot of people don't realize just how many people around the world are working on Luminar. It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
It's fantastic, and we I always think that whatever happens to us happens for a reason, and I hate COVID just like all of you people, but working remotely has allowed us to look for team members all around the world without being limited to specific places and cities and countries. So it has been a very exciting year for Skylum, and this year we are actually making some very important strategic decisions and some very important moves to grow the Luminar AI ecosystem and to expand to other platforms. I know that probably thousands and thousands of people have asked us whether Luminar AI will be launched on the mobile platform, and I think we're in the last stage of planning what Luminar will look on Android and iOS, and the development will definitely start this year. Um, Hopefully, we'll have something by the end of this year. So no commitments, no promises yet, but we
Yeah.
definitely see we definitely see Luminar as not just a desktop tool, even though we have started and have experienced tremendous growth and some really good success on desktop and macOS and Windows. But right now the vision is let's just put Luminar on any platform, be it web, mobile, or desktop, as long as creators are there wanting to create something, and we'll be happy to assist them. So this year is sort of it's sort of a massive expansion. We do plan some more updates and new versions of the product, but the key thing is that the product should grow uh, to other platforms, allowing people all over the world to use it. And this is cool, kind of exciting. We were sort of slow in terms of launching the product on the mobile, but as you can see, when you open App Store, you see hundreds and hundreds of apps out there, and it just doesn't make sense to create another app that will look the same as many other apps. So it takes a lot of planning and thinking and a lot of creativity to actually figure something out that will be unique and valuable on different platforms.
That's perfect. And you actually addressed Jorg's question there. He said, that Skylum's gone through many different products and changes through the years. He was wondering if we're really in love with Luminar and if we're going to keep developing it. And you're sharing, Alex, that we're taking Luminar to mobile now and to more platforms. So I think it's safe to say we're in this for the long haul, right?
Oh, 100%. And we actually we had numerous discussions with the executive board and the Skylum founding members. We had numerous discussions on where to take the company and take the product. And believe it or not, but there are literally dozens of opportunities right now from everywhere, both B2B and B2C opportunities and all kinds of different things. And partnership proposals, but the focus is still on Luminar, and until we get it right, until we make the experience of using Luminar on different platforms flawless, we won't be jumping on B2B business opportunity or something else. We are totally in love with the product, building the team and the research and development and everything just around a vision of creating that one unique product and making it better and better and better. Of course, supporting the Lumina 4, will continue supporting it with performance updates and more stuff.
Yeah, for those wondering, the team has committed that we will be adding file format support to Luminar 4 for new file formats and things like that, which is great. Alex, before we go down to the future, Christian was wondering about the past. Christian said that they attended one of our workshops in Berlin last year, long time ago, seems like these days, but a portrait workshop. And they're wondering, are we going to go back to having workshops and in-person events once it becomes safe? And they're also wondering, how has the pandemic affected Skylum? You shared that we've actually grown immensely and grown in lots of other countries. So could you address a little bit about what we're going to do in the future as far as coming together when we're allowed to, and how Skylum is growing as a global company?
Sure. And what we did this and last year was actually we strengthened our evangelist team and our partnership team tremendously, getting lots of great people on board who now work with Richard and Lila Cardi and many people around the world, and that supports the vision that we are not just a product company that creates some cool tech. We also a community-driven company. So we like all kinds of events online and offline. We like supporting the community. We like talking to different artists. We are in the process of revising our ambassador program to make it even more global and get more artists and creative people on board to work with Luminar and just create something unique and new. So definitely there will be so many different events and so many cool partnerships. And I don't think we'll wait for the pandemic to be over because no one really knows when this happens. But we'll try to navigate the situation and create online and offline events where possible.
Right. Live online events like this, and then photo walks where we're all outdoors will be a possibility. Sure. And you mentioned the team is growing globally very quickly, which is cool. Ren's asked a question that maybe you want to explain. He says, are you afraid of a hostile takeover from Adobe? I think we're safe since we're not publicly traded, but you want to address that one, Alex? We like competition, right?
It's interesting how when you read comments and feedback and questions, it seems like Adobe has only two choices when it comes to Skylum: to either acquire it or destroy it completely. It just two things that people keep asking. Will you agree to be acquired by Adobe? Are you afraid of Adobe taking over or like just destroying the company? There's so many variables and so many things that can happen that it just doesn't make sense to think of this kind of scenarios. When I read comments on Facebook and in our groups and just talk to our customers, I see that we should better focus on the user experience and what our customers get, and mostly probably follow Jeff Bezos and Amazon strategy when they never thought of competitors. They were thinking of their customers and put customers in the center. Uh, Speaking of companies like Adobe and everyone else, these are all fantastic, legendary companies, and they may have, and they surely have plans of their own. We have a plan to continue building Luminar AI. Some of the features in Luminar, or many features, I should say, will definitely surprise Adobe and many other competitors because I think we have a fantastic R&D team that's very talented and very hardworking. So there will be moves on behalf of Skylum that will surprise a lot of people and get creators excited. So it's things will, we'll see. The future is not ours to predict, I think.
Well, Jim
Unless,
Rendon, was that? Go ahead, Alex. I'm sorry.
I was going to say the future is not ours to predict unless you are Elon Musk and you are buying bitcoins, and you probably know what's happening. But
So, Jim Rendon asked a question about where do we harvest our data for the AI engine, and this is interesting because I'm gonna frame this right. So a lot of other companies rely on stock photography. So Adobe Sensei has a huge Adobe stock library, and they can look at a lot of stock images. Other people will license this. There's a lot of AI models out there. Alex, I think one of the things that makes our tools work so well is that we take a very different approach, right? Like we go right to artists and experts to build our AI. So could you sort of share that process of how we work in partnership with creative people to get better results?
absolutely, and thanks for a fantastic question. Uh, when it comes to our approach, think of three main elements. The first is definitely about artists and creators who we work with closely on on getting their feedback and ideas and source their images that we use in data sets. So a lot of things come from artists like Pete and Elia and our internal team and many other creators around the world. So we work with their photos, we look at their photos, we look at their styles, and so on and so forth. Another element is, like I said, our fantastic R&D team that takes all the data and those data sets and and adds their ideas and creates something fantastic out of it. But at the same time, there's a third element that is not that visible, but we try to work as much as we can with companies like Intel and Nvidia and Microsoft and Google because they have some fantastic tech, and believe it or not, they're very willing to help companies like Skylum grow and move forward faster. So we use a lot of support and a lot of help when it comes to developing things because we think that in the end of the day, artists benefit from these partnerships. So yeah, to make a long story short, Richard and team, it's all about creators and our own R&D, and of course, industry partnerships with some amazing companies.
Sure. We have a couple of questions, Alex, from people that are longtime Luminar users. And one of them was asking about, there seems to be overlap between Luminar 4 and Luminar AI. Why is that? Are these going to merge in the future? Or what's the vision here with Luminar AI? We already said we're continuing to support Luminar 4, but that means that we're going to add file formats and compatibility updates so it keeps running, but we're not adding main new features. Could you sort of explain this to folks of what they can expect here and why Luminar AI is the future, but that's a transition for some folks?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great question. Thank you so much for that. I personally feel that we would be moving much faster in terms of differentiating Luminar AI from Luminar 4. And because of time constraints, Luminar AI looks sort of similar to Lumina 4. But the vision is quite simple. We always envisioned Lumina 1, 2, 3, and 4 as more of a traditional approach to photo editing with more of the like Lightroom style editing. With Lumina AI being developed as the next generation photo editor. And when I say next generation, there will be a lot of experiments on how customers navigate the tool and how photographers use different features and tools. We didn't want to implement all our ideas and all our innovations at once, because when you get something that is completely new, that may be destructive for the product. So we will continue adding big and small features related to editing tools and user experience to Luminar AI, and to make the whole workflow way more easy and more comfortable and faster. With Lumina 4, the product stays the same in terms of tools and features, but we'll make sure that people in hundreds of thousands of customers who still use the product will be able to get support for their new cameras and get faster performance and things like that. But no new features or tools related to image editing will be added to Lumina 4, just because the future of the company is all about Luminar AI, and we see how the new approaches that we are implementing into the tool, how they
Yeah.
feel people, and think of Luminar 4 as something that's about the past and a lot of and present in photo editing and Luminar and Skylum history, and Luminar AI is all about the present and the future. So there's this middle ground of the present where two products exist.
Yeah,
Uh,
what I like to say is that Luminar 4 is a traditional photo editor that has some really cool, useful AI tools. And Luminar AI starts with AI and then still gives you a mixture of AI tools and manual tools so you can create a look that you want. And the difference is things like a lot of folks don't realize, Alex, when we open up an image in Luminar AI, it's analyzed the image. That's why things like human aware relighting works in sky enhancement, or bokeh AI, which is coming soon, lets you blur the background because we can analyze the photo and identify things like that's a tree, that's water, this should have a reflection, this shouldn't. That's different than most other photo editors. Like this tool is actually analyzing what's in the picture, right?
Absolutely right. Yeah, the, you can always find great words to describe a product. That's why I enjoy working with you, Richard. I couldn't say it better. Great job.
Excellent. Well, Alex, what are some of the things that excite you about Luminar? Obviously, you mentioned that we're hard at work on bringing this to more platforms like mobile. You mentioned some great companies that we're working with that are helping us make Luminar faster and adding new features, and it's really exciting to be doing this. What are you most excited about with where Luminar is going? What are some of the, without revealing specific features, what are some of the things that excite you about what the team is doing or working on that you are able to share?
Sure, sure. Well, I'm definitely I'm always excited about the new tech that we launch. And I think that if tools like Sky Reflections and Sky 2.0, uh, these things are just amazing. And a possibility to excite and inspire artists with unique tools like that other companies eventually follow or copy is a fantastic thing. And being able to stay ahead of the market and offer creators something unique and something new is definitely fantastic. And this excites me a lot. Another thing that I like about our current situation, where Skylum is going, is we work with some really great artists and great companies, and these things are connected. If we didn't innovate, if we didn't launch great tools, I think artists that are so great and photographers that are so amazing would not be working with Skylum. So having a community of supporters like that excites me a lot. Plus the technology, and of course, finally, a plan to expand to mobile platform and cloud platforms and web, and just make Luminar AI available everywhere. It it makes me really happy. I understand the team's desire to wait and not launch it immediately on different platforms, because we really want to take a, a slower approach when it comes to getting things done, and getting things done with Luminar AI. But now, as we launched the desktop product, and we have so many different cool people working with us, and so many interesting technologies in the pipeline, things couldn't be more exciting.
Sure. We had a good question here that I know you're going to love giving the answer. Jim was saying, are we collecting AI data in the background as we edit images or save them? I'm so proud of Skylum's approach to protecting people's data. Other people's AI tools have to transfer data to the cloud to work, which slows them down and does mean that data could be potentially being transferred. Alex, you and the team take this very seriously, right?
Oh, 100%. First of all, it's an open world, and there's so many different security questions around the world that we don't want to be one of those companies who collects your data for the sake of building a business or selling that. So Luminar, not neither Luminar 4 or any other Luminar AI or any other product by Skylum collects data to train our AI.
Yeah, so we don't collect any data in the background. The only thing we collect with your permission is bug reports or crashes. So if something goes wrong, we can help improve the software. But everything for our AI data is an opt-in program that other people volunteer for. We don't pull anything off of your system, right?
Absolutely right. And what's even more important is it just doesn't make sense to do it. AI, the tech that we are developing is so complex, and it's not about collecting data from customers. It's about having a team of very expensive and very smart data scientists and R&D people with great ideas, and working with partners like NVIDIA and Intel and many others to make things happen. And just because creating something unique and something interesting like Sky 2.0 is very time consuming and very difficult. And it's not about pulling data from our customers. It's about a completely different approach to building things. So just it will, like, collecting data won't help us in any way to create technologies and features like that.
Well, Frank likes your answer. He wants to know if he could buy Skylum stock. We're not currently selling it, but we appreciate the offer, Frank. Alex, folks are also wondering, Skylum has a lot of artists and passionate people on the team. You mentioned Alaya, who's just recently joined us, is going to be presenting later today. I know that even some of our engineers are photographers themselves. People are wondering, Alex, I know you know how to make a great photo and you're very passionate as an amateur photographer. What are some of the other areas that you enjoy creatively? How do you find creativity? And how does everyone at Skylum keep themselves charged up to focus on being innovative?
Interesting. Let me. The first thing that I wanted to answer when it comes to me finding and creativity was about Lego, because I think that the best thing you can do is just uh, get a spare hour or two with your kid and experiment with building all sorts of things using Lego bricks, and that's and especially when you let the kid lead, and you just support him or her, that shows a completely different way of thinking. Speaking of other team members, there are a lot of different things that we do beyond photography, and I think that the most important cultural trait that we have is we're just open to all kinds of experiments and all kinds of new things, whether it comes to some hobbies or business ideas or marketing experiments or just uh, some things like cooking or whatever. It just the whole culture around Skylum is about being open to changes and new things and experiment with all kinds of different scenarios. And also it's all about an international knowledge exchange and being very supportive when it comes to your colleagues around the world. And because when you talk to people from different countries and you exchange ideas, that can also add creativity. Uh, we don't really like to say no to things, and we try new things all the time. So that's pretty much it.
That's excellent, Alex. Well, Alex, we appreciate you taking the time to answer folks' questions. And, it's great to hear so many questions. Obviously, folks, you see that everyone on the team is very passionate. Alex, is there anything else you'd like to say to those here who are Skylum customers and Luminar users? We also have a lot of guests here today who are considering adding Luminar to their workflow. Is there anything you want them to know about the team or our approach and how we feel about the creative industry?
Uh, I want to ask to simply stay as long as you can, as long as your time allows during today's webinar. I saw a list of topics and I saw the names, and you'll be blown away with what these people can do with their photos, and you'll be very inspired by the vision of the world that our artists will show you today. So please just stay tuned, and as Skylum will continue supporting you as much as we can. So please stay as long as you can. And Richard, as always, I want to thank you and your team for pulling this together. I know it wasn't easy. So
Oh, no, it's
to
fun.
everyone over at Skylum, you guys did a great job. I'm very proud of you. Thank you so much.
If you want to see something silly, come see what Vanelli and I look like after 14 hours of talking by the end of the day. But right now, we're wide awake. It's great.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone. I'll stay and watch other presenters, and please, yeah, when you get a minute, always edit a photo too with any piece of software. Just experiment.